Good morning, everybody. It is 6:38, Tuesday, October 7th. Did you survive that full moon? I did. Gosh, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Maybe I really am at the end of this thing. I can't believe it. I just kind of sailed right through it. I had a few moments where, that Leo in me showed its face. But a quick motorcycle ride, and I put that animal to rest. So, a little birdie tells me that things might not be going so well. And, I know a little something about that. I really do. And I was thinking about, what could I talk about today that might lift a few souls, lift some spirits for those that might be going through it. And I thought about this gift that I got in the mail yesterday from an old friend of mine. And she made me the bees. I made a video about it if you want to watch. But she made these, and look at these things, man. I look at these things here and I say to myself, well, God, I don't even know how I would even begin to make this. So obviously there's a mold, but then how do you get all those colors to be separated like that? Is that hand done? It's just and it's beautiful. These are beautiful. Even though it's the same mold, each one looks so totally different. And the colors are just, they're just gorgeous. And she really does great work, this friend of mine. And I think it inspired me to do this video. I am such a big proponent of creativity. I just love artistic expression, and it can take so many forms. It's not just drawing or painting, It could be photography, it could be pottery. It could be putting together a garden outside for your vegetables, for your herbs, It could be organizing your kitchen in a way that's not just functional, but maybe, also beautiful. And it can manifest itself in so many different ways. Maybe you're a soap maker, maybe you're a business owner, somebody who is living your life on your terms, and it's sink or swim. If you don't show up, it doesn't happen. There's no one else to count on. And while that can seem scary, there's something empowering about it. And to be self-sufficient, to be look, I don't need anyone to make it work. I don't. It's nice to have the right people standing with you, but it's not necessary to have somebody standing with you. And that is a hard reality to accept, to even want to accept, because it's a hard road and you don't want to do it alone. But when you have the wrong person or persons in the driver's seat with you, your mission can be derailed and it just doesn't reach its full potential. And what this video is going to be about today is you taking charge of your life and realizing that, at least for the time being, maybe you need to be the only one driving this car. And will you pick up a hitchhiker? Maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends on how well you drive. I've been down this road before, more than once. It's not easy, but it's necessary. It's rewarding. It builds character. It reminds you of who you are, what you're capable of doing. And it turns you into a kind of person that can withstand some of the biggest storms you will ever face in your life. And so you say, oh, that sounds really great, Anthony, but what the hell does that have to do with creativity? I'm going to tell you a story. You know, I used to draw all the time when I was young. Everywhere I went, I brought my big drawing pad and the pencils and that kind of stuff. I rarely used colors. I didn't like crayons very much, and I didn't really like using colored pens. I just felt like it just didn't do it for me. But pencils, I had a lot of different kinds of pencils with different shades of graphite and stuff like that. I used to like to do shading with the different colored pencils, not colored pencils, but different shades of gray. And so I'd carry around these big spiral pieces of paper, and I just would draw. My daughter's the same way. She's also just draws almost all day long. It's really interesting to watch. And she's good. She's good. Well, when I was young, I would draw anything. I would just go outside. I would draw my grandma's house. I would draw trees. I would draw buildings, But I got really interested in comic books when I was young, and specifically superhero ones. And I actually started collecting these comic books, and I had thousands of them. They were really starting to accumulate, and I needed boxes to put them in. And then I was like, well, if I'm collecting these things, then maybe they'll be worth something someday. So then I started buying these Mylar plastic bags, and now I was investing in those, and they're almost as much as the comic books, and I'm putting comic books in them for storage, so that oxidative stress wouldn't attack them, and then they could be worth lots of money in 20, 30 years, and I'm not just reading comic books. I'm making an investment. I'm investing in my future. And for some reason, my mom, I remember my mom at the time, she would spend some money on me with those comic books. We'd go to comic book stores, and I remember she would spend like $10 or $15, maybe even $20 on a stack of comics for me. And, gee, those are good memories. My mom worked so hard in life. She was a single parent for much of my childhood and had to endure some really tough times, which I'll tell you about someday. She's somebody that doesn't give up. I'll tell you that. She's got willpower. She's really something. But I would collect these comic books. And I had all kinds. Mostly Marvel. Didn't really like DC too much. But I was like a big fan of Fantastic Four. And then I would start following the artists. There were certain artists that just captured my attention and my imagination, and I thought, my God, these people are so detailed, and and the way they draw, and with perspective, and then the detail in their machinery and their spaceships and stuff, and I was like, oh, holy mackerel. And I was like, how did they know all these, all the different muscle fibers that were in the superheroes, and I just was totally immersed in that world for a time. And I remember there was this one artist, John Byrne, who came to Fantastic Four. And his style was so different from everyone else's. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's like the Jesus Christ of comic books. You know how like Jesus Christ is just defined. He's just defined as this. He's set apart from all other humans. You know what I mean? And his persona, his character, his everything is like he's at the top. He's the standard that, man has chosen to look at. If you want to be spiritual, if you want to be good, if you want to be close to God, you have to know Jesus, right? This guy was the equivalent of that in Marvel, at least in my opinion. And what he did for that comic book, the Fantastic Four, it was way different than any previous artist. The other previous artists before him, at least from my point of view, they drew like infants. It was like watching a child's work compared to what this guy did. So man, then I started finding out that he did graphic novels and stuff like that, and I was like, and then the covers of these graphic novels were way better than any of the pictures that you saw on the comic books, and then the writing was amazing, and they even cursed in there, which I really liked, because inside me was this profanity-laced persona. I wanted to get out, and I just was like, I just want to curse and curse and curse and curse and curse. Even as a kid, man, that's just, the way it was. And I remember I had this friend, Frankie Fantasia. He's the first guy that got me to drop the F-bomb. And he forced me to say it. He just wouldn't leave me alone, and I'd be like, Frankie, stop it. I'm not saying that word. And he's just like, say it, say it, say it, say it, say it. And, finally I just blurted it out, and I did. And anyway, I digress. But, so comic books, just this creative world where adults got to stay children, they got to have fun, and you could just like imagine at that time, we're talking about, this is way before the internet or anything like that. Okay. So what were their work conditions? What was that like? Like, what is it like to be a comic book artist? Do you get to work from home, or do you work at Marvel? And what is that? If you work at Marvel, what do they got over there? Like, is it like 1,000 drafting tables in one giant room, and everybody's just drawing all day long? And it just, it just used to really, it just captured me totally. And so here, all these years, buying comics, collecting them. And I'm drawing too, and I start drawing them, and I'm drawing them for anybody, for everyone, anyone that wanted them. And I got pretty good. And so I actually sent a couple of them to Marvel Comics. And I got a response, a letter in the mail from Marvel Comics in an envelope, just a regular legal size envelope. And it was an invitation to go to Marvel Comics in New York City. You guys, I was like, 17 or 18 years old. And I got an invitation to go see, what was his name? It was John Lewandowski. Oh, that's so weird, because I also had a friend named John Lewandowski too. That's so crazy, but it was John Lewandowski. And wow, what a coincidence, huh? I never really put that together. But anyway, I went there. I took a bus. I had to take a number of buses to get into New York City. And here I am in New York City, this young kid. And I'm looking at this Marvel building, the building outside, all the buildings, and they're just like massive. And I go inside this Marvel headquarters, and it's like, I don't know, it's like a wet dream. That's all I can say, man. It's like heaven for anyone who is a comic book person. Their doors that they had were like solid wood, and then there's panels in the middle of different superheroes that were etched in like frosted glass. And this luxury everywhere. This place like screamed of just like money. I'm having like so much money. Like the materials in the that made up the composition, that made up the structure itself of the offices, and it was just like unbelievable. And a Marvel imagery everywhere. And yes, I saw this room. It was full of drawing tables and lights, but it was empty. There was nobody in there. It was so weird. In fact, the day that I showed up, there weren't very many people there at all. So I got placed into this room where I was told to wait. And so I sat there waiting, and then John came in and introduced himself, and we talked for a long time, and then he went and he disappeared and came back with these big giant panels of paper, and on them were already like pre-printed divisions like you would see in a comic book page. But this is like 20 times the size of a comic book page. Okay, it's big. And he hands me like, I don't know, 3 or 4 of those. And he said to take these home and fill them out, draw, and bring them back. And I was like, you gotta be kidding. So I took them home and I drew them. And I went back to Marvel Comics with my panels. And then he sent me home with some more. So I go back now for the 3rd time with these panels. And I'm so scared. I'm just like, I didn't know if I was doing good or doing bad or what was going on. But he came back, and he sat down and he talked with me, and he says, listen, I have to paraphrase because I can't remember exactly what he said, but I could tell he was letting me down easy. And he started explaining how at Marvel, these artists were the best of the best. And they were seasoned artists, and that they often started at smaller comic book companies. And that's not a bad thing, that it doesn't mean that you're not a good artist to not draw at Marvel. And he suggested that if I wanted to be a comic book artist, that I start at one of the smaller companies and then come back for another audition. And he left. And I wanted to tell you, this is a crossroads, you guys, that a lot of us have in life, you start your life, you're very creative. All kids are drawing, they're painting, they draw in the sand. You look at clouds and you put together images in your mind and you say, that cloud looks like Porky Pig. That one looks like a swan. That one looks like my brother. you know? That one looks like God. And you see the creativity, you see art in everything. You see beauty in so much. And it's like that for a lot of years, you know, because you're not at work, you know, you're not forced to make a living and buy a new car, buy a new house and pay insurance and everything like that. You don't need constant money coming in. And so your mind is free to go where it goes. And then slowly but surely, as you mature, you start to find your place in this world. You start taking more and more positions that require presence. And as that happens, you're leaving small aspects of your creativity to be nothing but memories. And the amount of paper that you burn through becomes less and less. You're not buying pencils anymore. And pretty soon you're just not even drawing. And now you're thinking about other things. Maybe getting into relationships, a career, these kinds of things. But when I got dismissed and I was told to go to a smaller company, instead of taking that advice, you know, and looking at it like, hey, you just got some personal guidance from Marvel Comics, and they are interested in you, and you got to dance a few dances here with the biggest comic company on the planet. How many people can say that at your age? But I didn't look at it that way. I saw it like I wasn't good enough. And I felt bad. I felt dejected. I felt like let down. And I was like, yeah, I knew it was too good to be true. I'm not that good of an artist. And I just left it behind, you know. I just walked away from it. Because I didn't believe in myself, and I didn't have someone in my life to say, oh, I understand why you feel that way, but don't walk away just yet. It doesn't have to be, you just walk away and never think about trying again. And so mindset is so important, you know, and having good people in your life, it's so important. But even though I did leave drawing behind, and I let that pull me down, somehow or another, that creative energy, that creative force, that creative desire manifested itself in other ways. And ultimately, it manifested in this business. And I am just such a big believer in creativity, artistry, that's taking an idea and turning it into something. And even in its humble beginning, there's potential. And I just want to remind you guys about something. For those of you that are in a place in your life when you think, well, I'm too old to start something now that I really love, or, you know, I'm not talented enough. It's so easy, you know, when you look at established companies and businesses, you think to yourself, I can't do that. But one thing that I think a lot of people completely dismiss is the humble beginnings that these businesses have in their history. Now, I'll just give you an example. Let's look at Microsoft computers. You guys, there's a picture floating around the internet. You should look for it. It says, "Would you invest?" And it's like a snapshot of these guys when they were just starting. And they just look like a bunch of hippies, man. And it was like, they were, not dressed professionally. And they had like big hair everywhere. And just like long beards and stuff. And they just looked like, like, I don't know, college dropouts or something. And you guys, these guys were working in a garage. And look at them now. They own the world. Dell Computers, you guys, this guy, he started that business when he was in his dorm room in college. If you remember Gateway Computers, another big competitor, I don't know if they're still around, but they started in a barn with borrowed money from their grandma. Hewlett Packard, another garage. How's that for a humble beginning? And let's not forget Apple Computer, another garage. You guys, it's always humble beginnings, always. But so often, we just look at where people are, but you're seeing them after 50 years of work. 30 years of work, 20 years of work. Creativity can also take the form of vision, dreaming, but not just dreaming. It's taking those dreams and those visions and putting it to work. It's a combination. Your creative force, but also you've got to put some elbow grease in there, some mechanical action. It's a marriage of the two. And the early years of your project, whatever it is, could be a book, could be a business, whatever it is, oftentimes it's just you and your dreams, your imagination. And what drives that, is what you believe about yourself, what you believe about your brother, your sister, your neighbor, your ideas about what's even possible with regards to the human condition. And I think that the biggest danger that we have when it comes to unleashing our creative forces is one where we're only in our own little world and we're only looking at our own thoughts. And what's so damaging there is that we have so many fears, which is natural, but it's so easy to look at those fears and say, man, I can't do that. I can't overcome that. And that's where I really love, and I always say, man, you gotta get in the history of other people who have set out to distinguish themselves also from average. And so that's reading biographies, man. That's learning about the history of big ideas and what they really look like and the transformation process, what it really looks like. And there's a lot to learn. Things don't just materialize out of nowhere. You've got to put the hard work in. And you have to be able to develop a plan. But you also need to be creative. That imagination has to be let loose, And so as you get older, the tendency is to just completely drop your imagination, the creative aspect of it, and just go to work for somebody else. And I did that too for the longest time. But I'm going to tell you something. Let's just say this business of mine here never worked out for whatever. Just to say that tomorrow it was over. I could not go to work for somebody else anymore. Because this kind of life, this way of living changes you like to the core. You're so determined that you can never work for someone else again. You just are a totally different person. And I would just start another business, and I have started other businesses, and I've proven to myself that this business wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. But you're going to be faced with some roadblocks, of course. The road to success, whatever that eventually turns, whatever picture you have as success, it's going to be a journey. But I think that the best way to win this race, the race is life, right? I look at it like a race. And I think that self-determination is the best vehicle to use to finish this race and to finish it well. I am not knocking working for somebody else. Like I said, I've done it. I did it for a long time. But I want you to just think about something. And when you work for somebody else is handling the finances. Someone else is taking all the chances. Somebody else is doing a lot of work behind the scene, and all you have to do is show up and do your job. Now, you might say to yourself, hey, that's cool with me, because I don't want to do those things. I want to have time to watch TV. I want to have time to go do this or that. I want to party. I want to do this or that. Okay. You can do that. I'm not even knocking it, because you're going to do it until you start to realize that you shouldn't be doing it. That you're spinning your wheels, that you're wasting time, that you're wasting your potential. And that's where these videos come in, when you're at that point in your life. So I'm not trying to convince anyone to break free from that. What I am trying to do is catch you at a critical moment where you're realizing yourself that you're at a crossroads, and that there has to be a change, but you're not sure what to do or how to do it. That's where my work comes in. I started this business with $212, and I didn't have a high school education. I want you to let that sink in. I'm perfect for this kind of work, because if I can do it, it means you could do it. Because I almost guarantee that almost probably 99.9% of the people that watch this video have completed high school, and maybe even completed college. Maybe you've taken business courses and all these things. I've never done any of that. I didn't get my GED until 12 years after I was supposed to graduate. I drove tractor trailers for a living for a long time and did manual labor jobs. And somehow now, I'm giving advice on how to be an entrepreneur. I don't know. And the thing is I know what I'm talking about. That's the cool part about it, is that I walk into this position of teacher, mentor, with total confidence. Because I know what I know. And nobody can tell me any different. Because I've proven it. And that's where real confidence comes from. It comes from history, right? Your history, your own personal history is going to dictate whether your confidence is real or imaginary, fake. mine's real. I'm a force to be reckoned with. I'm unstoppable. I am because I believe I am, because I am. I've proven it over and over and over again. There is no earthly force that can come against me. None. None. In fact, I welcome it. Let's see if you could take me down. You can't. And this is the end result. This is what I'm telling you, you get to have. You hang on to your creativity, you develop it. Your imagination, you develop it. Your idea, you massage it, you develop it. You breathe life into it. And at some point in your story, you emerge as the victor, the winner. And then you say to yourself, well, now what? If I finish the race, what do I do now? One of the cool things about this journey for me was watching how it changed me. Watching how it brought me from a place of, well, I don't know what to do, to like, I can do anything. That transformation, that liberation from this prison this self-imposed prison that I was in before I started this business, where I just wanted to like either put a bullet in my head or just disappear. I got up and I said, I will not give in. I will keep moving forward. And here I am. And through that process, I transformed. And during that transformation, like I said, you look back behind you and you say, man, whoa, how did that happen? And when you are in full recognition of what this liberation actually is and what it's doing, you are drawn to give back, this is the best part of self-determination, is reaching the level where you're able to return the favor. What I'm doing right now, I'm teaching, advising, sharing my experiences so that it inspires another person to take a chance on themselves. It is the best feeling in the world. And it is a natural outcome of running a good race. You must give back. You can't even imagine a scenario where you just are holding on and hoarding all of the bounty that you have accumulated. Because you look out into the world and you see all these other people who are struggling and who are wanting more out of life, but they don't know what to do. And you have a story to tell. And you have advice to give. And you have stories to share. Because my story is your story. It really is. And if I could do it, you could do it. And You guys, I'm just doing this video right now, and it's just like bing, 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 bing. These notifications coming in of people liking the videos, watching them. And that is what it is all about. Because we are all one. We're all connected. And I recognize that. And I lean into it. And I accept it. And I need it. I need to be connected to you. I want to. My heart aches for it. I could never just sit back here and take your money and fork over a jar of honey or a bar of soap or a can of tallow and just call it a day. It just doesn't do it for me. It's not enough. There has to be a bigger exchange, a more meaningful one. And I have built that. And I'm so happy. I'm a little scared because I feel like, shit, I hope I don't die tomorrow. I'm not done. There's still more I want to do. You know, I need another 20 or 30 years at least. I got big plans for all of us. We're all going together. We're bringing in the new world. It's my mission to leave the world when I leave in a much better place than when I came in. And because of the things that I do, because of the way I think, because of the way I feel, because my heart won't let me do anything different than to be open, than to be vulnerable with all my brothers and sisters. That's you. And you know, I want to wrap this up, but I want to remind you of a time in my life where I didn't know. It was years before I actually started this business. I was having dreams. And in the dreams, it was that I was walking down Broadway. And I had a backpack on. This is a recurring dream. And I'm walking down Broadway Boulevard towards like Houghton area. And I'm passing these bus stops. And at the bus stops, there's lots of people. And I go there. They just start like coming around me. And I open up my backpack and they're pulling out what I think was fruit. I don't know. It was something. I think it was fruit. And they were taking it, you know, and I was giving it to them. It's not that they were taking it, but I was sharing it with them. And then I would gather those people and we'd start walking up the street more. Then we'd hit another bus stop where there was more people and the same thing would happen there. And then the group's getting larger and we're just all walking down Broadway Boulevard with just big, massive people. You guys, that was a prophetic dream. I didn't know how to interpret it then. But when you look at what's happening now, it makes total sense. And this is what I want to tell you guys. I want you to understand that your life is so precious. It is so magical. You have no idea just how magical it is. You have no idea. What's happening here, the nature of reality, is not all that you think it is. And the universe and God, however you want to look at it, has been at work in your life for the longest time, but you just don't know it. And it tries to talk to you, but you don't know how to interpret the language. You have a story to tell. You have a story to write. It might not be in the pages of a book. It might be your actual life. It might be a book. It's very possible. Like if you're one of those people that are at a crossroads right now, and you're thinking, I don't know what to do. The best advice that I could give you is to pick something and start. Just start. Just do it. If it's the be, it's up to me. Try to be sensitive to the language, to the hints that the universe is trying to send to you. I've talked to you about angel numbers and how you can use those to help. But maybe it's somebody you know. Maybe it's a situation that you passed on already and you need to circle back. I don't know. But I guarantee you this. You are not going to complete your life cycle here without multiple opportunities for you to have the best life you could ever have. If you make it to the end of your life cycle and you feel like you haven't lived your best life, it's because you passed multiple things by. Like you just blew right past them. You just ignored them. You said no to them. And I don't know what to tell you. God doesn't say no to anybody. To anybody. You're given multiple opportunities throughout your life to pick something and run with it. It could be a partnership with somebody. It could be, you could be a lone wolf. I mean, it could take any form whatsoever. That's what's so unique about you and what you want and what you like and what you're comfortable with. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't listen to anyone else. Listen to your heart, to your soul, to your dreams, to your intuition. See your alignment for what it is. Make adjustments if you can. An amazing life is waiting for you. It's totally up to you, though, to take it. You don't have to, but you can. Anyone can. And if I can, you can. That's for sure. Anyway, I hope this inspired you. Going on 50 minutes. I got to take my daughter to eat. Yesterday they were closed. Now the truck is fixed and we can go have breakfast. Proper sit down. Oh, at Luna Cafe, if you go there, here in Marana, they just got the tables installed. And so True Love Honey purchased some advertising space on those tables. So you'll get to see our advertisement there at Luna Cafe on all their tables. So we get to experience that for the first time today. You guys, I'm so proud of the work that I've done in my life and the courage that I've had to keep going even when everything in me was saying, stop, quit. You can't do this alone. And I didn't listen to that voice. And I cried out to God. I said, please save me. Because I'm ready to throw in the towel. I need you now more than ever. And guess what I got? A spiritual awakening. A dark night of the soul. The dude didn't look like help at the time, but I'm telling you, all the videos that you are seeing are a result of that process. It's painful, but it's transformative. So, up upper management. You want higher levels, you've got to gain stronger skill sets. And there is no stronger management than the big man upstairs. I can tell you that. So, I love you so much, and I hope to God that this video was helpful to somebody. I hope that your day is well. If it's not, you know what you got to do. You got to throw in some music. You dance. Doesn't matter where you're at. You got to dance for at least a minute or two. Work out that negative, bad energy. Shake it loose. Take control of your life. Take control of your thoughts. Believe that a better life is possible for you, and do something about it. Shut off the television. Shut off the news. Read an inspiring book. Dance. Draw. Do some woodworking. I don't know. Do something creative. Play with your dog. Do not let the negative forces of this world have easy access to your heart, to your mind, to your soul. Fight. Fight like your life depends on it, because it does. It does.